Imagine waking up every single day feeling like you've already lost the battle before it even began. Your energy is drained, your focus is shattered, and your willpower feels like it's on life support. What if I told you there's one habit, one single habit that's secretly sabotaging your life, and you probably don't even realize it? By the end of this video, you'll understand why Stoics warned against this centuries ago, and how stopping it could completely transform your life. Let's dive in. Stoicism isn't just about reading Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus and nodding along like you've got it all figured out. It's about action. It's about confronting the habits that hold you back, habits that keep you stuck in a cycle of weakness, distraction, and regret. And there's one habit in particular that's more destructive than most people realize. It's not just about physical health or morality. It's about your mental clarity, your discipline, and your ability to live a life of purpose. Today we're talking about something that's rarely discussed openly, but it's time to address it head on, because if you don't, it will keep controlling you. Let's get real for a second. Masturbation. It's something almost everyone does, but no one wants to talk about. And why would they? It's private, it's personal, and it's often tied to shame or guilt. But here's the thing. Stoicism isn't about avoiding uncomfortable truths. It's about facing them. So, let's face this one. The problem isn't just the act itself. It's what it does to your mind, your energy, and your ability to live a disciplined life. The ancient Stoics didn't have modern science, but they understood something crucial. Self-control is the foundation of a virtuous life. And when you give in to impulses, whether it's anger, greed, or lust, you weaken that foundation. Think about it. How do you feel after you indulge? If you're honest, it's not great. You might feel a momentary release, but it's usually followed by a sense of emptiness, guilt, or even frustration. And over time, this cycle starts to eat away at your confidence, your focus, and your drive. It's not just about the physical act, it's about what it represents, a lack of control over your own desires. But here's the good news. Stoicism gives us a way out. It's not about shaming yourself or pretending you're perfect. It's about recognizing the problem, understanding why it's holding you back, and taking deliberate steps to overcome it. So let's break this down. 1. The Stoic perspective on desire and impulse. The Stoics believed that our desires, especially those tied to pleasure, are like wild horses. If you don't rein them in, they'll run wild and drag you wherever they want to go. Epictetus put it bluntly, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that for a second. Freedom isn't just about being able to do whatever you want. It's about being in control of your own mind and actions. When you give in to every impulse, you're not free. You're a slave to your desires. And masturbation is one of the most common ways people give up that control. But why does it matter? It's not just about morality or some abstract idea of virtue. It's about the practical impact on your life. When you indulge in something that gives you a quick hit of pleasure, you're training your brain to seek instant gratification. And that spills over into every other area of your life. Procrastination, laziness, lack of focus. It all stems from the same root, an inability to delay gratification. The Stoics didn't just talk about this, they lived it. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, wrote in his private journal about the importance of self-discipline. He didn't do it because he was perfect. He did it because he knew how easy it was to fall into the trap of indulgence. And if a Roman emperor could recognize that, maybe it's worth paying attention to. 2. The science behind the habit. Now, let's bring in some modern science to back this up. When you masturbate, your brain releases a flood of dopamine, the same chemical that's associated with pleasure and reward. And while that might sound great, there's a catch. Over time, your brain starts to rely on that dopamine hit. It becomes a crutch. And the more you rely on it, the harder it becomes to find motivation elsewhere. Think about it like this. If you're used to getting a quick dopamine hit from masturbation, why would you bother putting in the effort to achieve something more meaningful? Why would you work on that project, hit the gym, or pursue a long-term goal when you can get a quick fix instead? This is where Stoicism and science align. Both point to the same truth. Indulging in short-term pleasure weakens your ability to pursue long-term goals. And if you want to live a life of purpose, a life where you're in control, you need to break that cycle. 3. The emotional and mental toll. Let's talk about the emotional side of this. Masturbation isn't just a physical act, It's often tied to deeper emotional patterns. For a lot of people, it's a way to cope with stress, boredom, or even loneliness. And while it might provide temporary relief, it doesn't actually solve anything. In fact, it often makes things worse. Think about how you feel afterward. If you're like most people, it's not exactly a sense of pride or accomplishment. It's more like a vague sense of guilt or emptiness. And over time, that starts to weigh on you. It chips away at your self-esteem and makes it harder to believe in yourself. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that true strength comes from facing your emotions head-on, not running away from them. When you use masturbation as a way to avoid dealing with your feelings, you're not solving the problem, you're just burying it. And the longer you do that, the harder it becomes to break free. 4. How to break the cycle. So, how do you stop? How do you break a habit that's so deeply ingrained? The Stoics would tell you to start with awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. So, the first step is to recognize when and why you're giving in to the impulse. Next, replace the habit with something more constructive. Instead of turning to masturbation when you're stressed or bored, try journaling, meditating, or going for a walk. These activities might not give you the same quick hit of dopamine, but they'll help you build resilience and self-control over time. Finally, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Every time you resist the urge, you're strengthening your willpower. You're proving to yourself that you're in control, not your desires. And that's what Stoicism is all about. Living a life of purpose, discipline, and virtue. Here's the truth. Stopping this habit won't just change your life. It will redefine it. Imagine waking up every morning with a clear mind, a strong sense of purpose, and the confidence that comes from knowing you're in control. That's the power of Stoicism. It's not about denying yourself pleasure, it's about choosing a higher form of satisfaction, one that comes from living a life of meaning and integrity. So, let's recap. Masturbation might seem harmless, but it's secretly undermining your ability to live a disciplined, purposeful life. By breaking this habit, you're not just improving your physical health, you're reclaiming your mental clarity, your emotional resilience, and your sense of self-control. The Stoics knew this centuries ago, and now you do too. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more.